If you want to be a live poker crusher, you should probably stop doing this immediately. I keep seeing this sentiment pop up saying, wow, Mark, these strategies in your videos look great against fish, but I don't know if they'll work against regs. You're just too unbalanced. Okay. So today, I'm gonna take a plethora of regs who are all winning or trying very hard to win, some of them who even play for a living. At the very least, the average player you're about to see would probably be one of the better players at your local 2-5 game. I'm gonna have them play against the solver to see just how balanced we should be. I have a feeling you're going to be surprised. Let's jump in. All right, tell us your name and a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Abby Poker. I'm a 24-year-old content creator based out of Chicago and also poker player as of the last 3 years.
My name is Jonathan Buer. I am a college student hoping to play poker full-time after I graduate.
I am Jamin Burton, vlogger, currently living in Vegas.
My name is Joel Angela. I'm known online as Poker Bubble. Play poker in San Diego, make content with it.
I'm Marco, and I'm the editor for Hungry Horse Poker.
And about how many hours have you played in the last 12 months or so?
I would say about 1,000.
500-ish or so.
Last year, I played a little over 2,000 hours. This year, I've only played maybe 300 or so.
Right around 1,000.
140 a month, you could say.
And if you don't mind telling us, you don't need to go into too many details about how much are you winning. You could do big blinds per hour.
Probably like 9 big blinds an hour.
My win rate playing mostly Vegas, 5-10 and some 10-20 is, I don't know, 10 big blinds an hour probably.
Probably just north of 100 an hour, maybe 120 to 130.
Between the 1K and 1,500 cap games here, I'm winning about 85 an hour.
I'm happy with the month if I'm at 10 big blinds an hour.
All right, so we are going to play a hand, 2-5, $1,000 effective. You are going to be in the big blind here, and you are playing against a player who you don't know, just sat down at the table, maybe looks like could be a pro, could be a reg, maybe he's got headphones on, has a backpack, bought in for the max, but you don't really know anything else about this player, except he looks like he could be a reg. So this guy is going to open from the low jack to $20, folds around to you in the big blind, and now at this point, I'd like you to tell me, which hands are you continuing with as a call? So we're going to get rid of the hands you 3-bet, we're gonna get rid of the hands you fold, so we're just going to continue with the hands that call here pre-flop.
Suited aces from like ace, jack, all down, all the way down. The suited kings almost all the way down, stopping at like king 4.
From king deuce suited to like king jack suited.
Jack queen suited down to queen 8.
Add the 10s there, the queen 10, king 10, jack 10.
Ace-7 suited, 7-6 suited, 6-5 suited, 5-4 suited. I'm probably 3-betting those half the time.
And then lastly, I think I want to add in the ace 10, king 10, ace 9, king 9 off.
Okay, cool. You want to lock this in?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lock that in.
Okay, so does this look...
Yeah, this is fine.
Everything else look good?
Yeah.
Looks good, yeah.
Happy with this before we move on?
I mean, sure, yeah.
All right, so you have called pre-flop, and if flop comes 7-4-3 with a couple of spades, you check it over, and your opponent c-bets for just about half pot here on the flop. Tell me which hands are calling, which hands are folding, and which hands are raising.
All right, so hands I'm raising are probably sets straight.
We're going to basically be raising the sets and straight pure.
The straights, 5-6. We're gonna be raising that pure. All the sets too.
With top set specifically, I think I'm gonna mix. I think I'll raise like 50% of the time and call 50% of the time.
And you're raising your 4s and 3s all the time?
Yes, all the time.
I take raise with the 4-3s too, 2 pair.
I'm just raising all the combo draws.
Any combo draw, I'm basically gonna check raise the combo draws.
The nut flush draw that has a gut shot, ace deuce of spades, king 5 of spades. Trying to be as realistic as possible, like as I would play, not as I think I should play.
Over pairs like 50-50.
Yeah, jacks half of the time, 10s like 40%, let's make it a little lower. Let's see, bluffs.
Okay, cool. We'll put all these as a fold. Everything else look good here?
Yes, all looks good.
Yes.
Got it. Let's lock this in. All right, we're gonna lock it.
Time to get punished.
Anything you want to change before we move on to the turn?
Looks good.
Anything you want to change? Last chance.
No, lock it in.
So you have called on the flop, and now the turn is the innocuous deuce of hearts. You check it over, and now your opponent goes 150 into 82. So a very big bet here on this turn. And one more time, tell me which hands are calling, which hands are folding, and which hands are raising to this 2x pot size turn bet.
Yeah, I just don't think people bluff enough. Like, no one's good enough to be going 2x pot as a bluff. Truly.
Yeah, I mean, now I just don't like anything apart from the two pair. Two pairs calling, ace five straight.
And your top pair.
Yeah, still calling. Not happy.
I think these are all calling.
Maybe I call one more time with specifically ace-7, but I'm folding out my king-7s.
Let's say I call with the ace seven. Let's say I fold the rest of the sevens.
Jacks, 10s, 9s, 8s.
Still calling.
I'm gonna fold like 8s and 9s just because they're gonna function about the same and have less outs. Jacks and 10s I think are just good enough to call.
I call 9s, I fold 8s. Calling jacks, 10s for sure.
10s, 9s, 8s. I still see some value in having those hanging around. So yeah, let's call with those.
What about your ace high, king high, queen high flush draws here on the turn?
Yeah, I'm probably just calling.
I think I'm still calling all of my remaining flush draws.
Okay, so the ones that's flush draw and a straight draw, calling with those.
I'm folding anything that's not drawing to the second nuts or is top pair or better.
Okay, let's lock that in.
Yeah.
We'll lock in this turn if you're good with it.
Yep, looks good.
This looks fine.
Let's lock that in, yeah.
How's this
Looks
look?
good to me.
All right, so you have called on the turn, and now the river is the 9 of hearts. You check it over once again, and your opponent now jams all in for over 2x pot here on this river, and now you can't raise. So tell me, which hands are calling and which hands are folding?
I never see players ever 3x rip it as a bluff.
Disgusting.
Yeah, we do a lot of folding here.
You're allowed to fold a lot. I'm pretty sure.
All right, what's calling?
9-7, ace-5. Yes, we have ace-5.
Yeah, no, 9s, I'm just calling.
Probably end up calling with 9s.
You don't love it with pocket 9s.
Oh, I don't love it with any hand I have.
Yeah, I'm still calling with 4-3 suited here. I mean, I'm still beating a lot of his overpairs and things he might just monkey around with.
Jacks, 10s, and 8s.
Yeah, fold.
I think I'd probably be folding jacks and 10s.
Ace 7 and pocket 8s.
Just folding. TBH.
Just folding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honest, I'm folding, I think.
All
All
your
the
7x?
7x get folded.
I don't really see any other hands that are realistically calling.
So you're just calling with your straights and second set. Okay, we will lock this in if you're good with it.
All good.
93% of your range.
Well,
All right, so this is what you're calling with on the river.
Yeah, that looks ridiculous.
All right, so now we're going to play the same situation again. Your opponent opens from the low jack. You call on the big blind. Flop is the same. You check. Your opponent c-bets. You call. So you do the exact same thing on the flop here. Now the only difference is the turn is a deuce of spades, bringing in the front door flush. You check it over, and now your opponent is actually going to go small, 35 into 82, so about a 40% pot size double barrel here on this turn. What hands are you continuing with as a call? What hands are you raising, and what hands are you folding?
I'm raising here with ace high flushes because I can overflush him easily. I want to punish him in those situations. So
Punish.
I'm definitely fast playing here a decent amount. Nut flush is calling, and we're gonna raise the other flushes.
Yeah, I'm raising my flushes.
All of them?
Yeah.
All the nut flushes. So all the king high, queen high.
And I think I'm gonna raise ace-5 as well.
Jacks through 8s here.
Calling, yeah.
Yeah, call.
All over pairs.
Top pair.
Yeah, just call.
Call, top pair.
6s and 5s.
Call with the spade.
I'm just gonna call these other pairs like 6-4, 5-4, 5-6s, the pair plus straight draw.
Let's call with the 4 that has a straight draw to go with it.
I'm also raising the ace of spades.
So put the ace, ace queen and ace jack with the ace of spades as a check raise too.
We can be raising like 8-7 off with a spade or something like that as a bluff.
This looks all good.
Okay, anything you want to change?
Looks good.
Oh, I can't wait to see how bad this is.
And finally, now the river is the 9 of hearts once again, except now the flush is out there. You check, and your opponent decides to bet 300 for 2x pot here. Last decision point here. Which hands are you calling? Which hands are you raising? And which hands are you folding?
Yeah, he's calling with my flushes and folding everything else pretty much, yeah.
Ace high flush and king high flush, if they get there, are raising.
You don't have any other flushes, I believe.
I agree. I raised them all.
I'm probably calling 9s.
Probably?
Yes, I'm calling 9s. 9-7.
You got 9-7 for top 2?
9-7 is tricky, calling half the time, and that's the same as pocket 9s.
Let's put the sets half at a time. The pocket 9s half at a time.
Yeah, all my one pair holdings I let go of.
So I probably would just fold all my single paired 7s.
What are you doing with top pair?
It's folding.
Pocket 8 seems close, but I'd probably fold that as well.
Do I call Jackson 10s ever? I'm a bit of a station. Whatever, give them like 50% call, 50% fold.
And then everything else is forced to fold.
This is so nitty, but y'all gotta remember I play 1-3. People aren't bluffing.
You're folding 91% of the time.
Yeah.
Are you good with this? Locking it in?
Yeah.
lock this in, lock it in.
Yeah, punish me.
Okay, my last question for you here. This flop 7-4-3 in equilibrium. How often do you think this flop should be bet by low jack against a big blind defender?
That's a good question. I would say 30%, 30 to 40%.
C betting maybe like 40%.
Around 50% if I had to guess.
20%.
Spoiler alert, the villain is a solver. How often do you think the villain will be c-betting the flop against your strategy?
I would say probably like 50% of the time.
I don't know, 70%?
I'll bet a lot of money on it. Exactly what the percent is, if you'd like to put some money on it, a friendly wager.
Listen, I'm not a gambler, so.
Oh, it's betting everything.
Yeah, all the time.
There it is, 100%. C-betting every single hand. 100%, there it is. There we go, range betting. See, it's just range betting on the flop. 100%. Yeah.
So what you're saying is I'm exploitable.
What adjustments do you think this sim can tell you about how you should be playing against rakes?
I should just be betting.
When your opponent calls, even if they're a rake on a wet dynamic board, what does that mean when the turn's a blank?
They probably would have fast played something good on the flop.
Hungry horses for me.
All right, conclusions time. Let's go street by street and talk about the common mistakes that these regs made. All right, so let's jump into the pre-flop mistakes these regs made. In general, they played the best pre-flop, but they still made two glaring mistakes. Number one, they called too much to a low jack open. They called a little bit too wide. And number two, they 3-bet too linear, meaning they 3-bet good, better, and best. They didn't really have the polarized bluffs in there. So let me show you. This is an optimal continuing range from the big blind versus a low jack open, starting the hand at 200 big blinds effective. As you can see here, it's flatting a lot of the time with a lot of these good hands here, like ace queen suited, ace king off, pocket jacks, pocket queens even get flatted sometimes. It's 3-betting quite a bit with some of these suited connectors, 8-7 suited, 7-6, 6-5. So it's going pretty polarized here, where it's 3-betting the top of the range, aces, ace king, pocket kings, pocket queens, that type of stuff, and then some of the worst hands that it's continuing with in the form of these suited connectors. In general, our regs just 3-bet a little bit too linear with this upper left-hand portion of the hand balloon chart, which means they just didn't have quite as many good hands getting to the flop. All right, moving on to the flop here, facing a half pot c-bet. The mistakes our regs made on the flop is they raised way too much strong stuff, right? They just fast played their sets and their straights at a very high frequency. They did not check raise enough bluffs. Most of their check raise bluffs were just big combo draws. They didn't check raise enough naked flush draws. They didn't check raise enough gut shots, and they actually just overfolded on the flop. As you can see here in equilibrium, the solver was betting about 43% of the time on the flop, so it was doing a lot of checking here. Makes sense on a board that is 7-4-3, which is going to be pretty advantageous for the big blind caller. But as you guys know on this channel, we are big fans of just range betting all of the time because opponents make a ton of mistakes versus range bets. I even have this comment here from Hugo Diaz 753, which says, c-betting your entire range on this board? My dude, if you are against any competent opponent, they are gonna exploit the hell out of you. All right, Mr. Hugo, let's see what the solver does against 5 competent players. Against Joey, Mr. Poker Babo, it's betting 100% of the time its entire range. Against Abby, it's betting 100% of the time its entire range. Against Jamin, it's betting 100% of the time. Against Jonathan, 100% of the time. And against Marco, 100% of the time. A board that is bad for our range in the low jack against 5 good players. Look, the solver is betting 100% of the time. All right, so after they called on the flop, going to a blank turn facing the overbet, let's talk about the mistakes they made here. In general, on the turn facing a big overbet, they played this okay, right? So they underfolded relative to equilibrium, but this is okay because they actually arrived on the turn with a slightly stronger range than equilibrium because equilibrium just folded less on the flop. So in general, they played the blank turn versus this big bet probably better than any street besides pre-flop. But what about this flushing turn when they faced a small bet? They did not play this one so well. Facing a small bet on a flushing turn, they just raised off too much of their good shit. They raised too many flushes. Right now, they under-bluffed by a ton. The only bluffs they really found on this turn were hands like ace-jack with the ace of spades, ace-10 with the ace of spades, stuff like that. Whereas equilibrium finds bluffs on this turn with hands like king-jack with the king of spades, king-queen with the king of spades. They were just folding those hands on the flop. And it also turns hands like 5-4 suited, 5-3 suited, 7 7-5 suited into bluffs on this turn, and they just weren't really finding any of those bluffs at all. Once they called the big bet on the blank turn, getting to the 9 of hearts river and facing a jam, let's talk about the mistakes they made. So in general, on these blank rivers, they just massively overfolded. They were just overfolding ridiculous amounts, right? They just didn't have any strong hands to call down with. They mostly raised pocket 4s or pocket 3s on the flop, and a lot of them folded pocket deuces on the flop. So they just didn't have a lot of strong hands to call down, and they just weren't comfortable calling down with one pair. You see in equilibrium here, they just have a lot of pocket 4s, pocket 3s, pocket deuces, some pocket 7s as well to call down on this river, along with pocket 9s. And then ace 7 is called a high percentage of the time here on this river as well. So in equilibrium, there's a lot of folding, of course, to the more than 2x pot size jam. But in equilibrium, there are a few strong hands to call down with, and top pair, top kicker just isn't really a big fan of folding. Finally, let's talk about after they called the small bet on this flushing turn, went to a blank river and faced a 2x pot sized overbet. They were just massively overfolding to the 2x pot size bet on this river. And also, they were massively under bluffing. And the reason why they didn't really have any bluffs on this river is because they chose most of their stiff ace of spades hands, like ace of spades jack x, ace of spades 10x. They chose those hands to raise on the turn as a bluff, all 5 of them. They just didn't have almost any natural bluffs on this river. So my takeaway here, the simple strategy we talk about here all the time on the channel, forcing our opponents to raise off their strong shit and call with their weak shit, even against competent players, this works. The big boy overbet bluffs on the river when our opponents are capped, even against good players, this works. Look, and you may have qualms with some of this. You may say, okay, these 5 players aren't world-class players. They aren't crushers. Shut up. These guys are all winning poker players. There are no high-stakes online crushers playing in your local 2-5 or 5-10 game. Everybody in those games is exploitable. In my belief, in today's poker landscape, everybody is so worried about being exploited that they are missing all of the easy exploits on the table that are ripe and there for the taking, even against good players. Thank you guys, and have a gentle day.